Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, and in this video, we're going to talk about the United States and Russia, and they like disagreeing about things, and right now they are disagreeing about the U.S. extended continental shelf that the Russian Federation rejects. This is March 25th, 2024. Today's April 8th. This will get loaded up on the 9th. And right here, April 6th, Russian objection to U.S. territorial claims off Alaska complicates maritime relationship. So that's, it's not like there isn't a few complicated relationships out there. So this article is in two different places here. There's also this right here, May 24th, 2021. And Russia's proposed extended continental shelf in the Arctic Ocean, science setting the stage for law. So back here in 2021, it looks to me like Russia did the same thing. There was an extended of the continental shelf in the Arctic Ocean. The proposal, comprising of the country's second revised submission to the Commission, delineated an area extending to points near the North Pole and exclusive economic zones of Greenland and Canada. So land everywhere is, under fight. Everybody wants it, even if it is underwater. And further down in this article, Russia has like half of the Arctic. Okay, Russia goes all the way out to here. This is where the U.S., Russia, the Bering Sea, and that's Russia, and it's all the way around. And this is Russia right here. This is Finland. This is where you get into a Scandinavian. Finland, Norway, Sweden, you have Iceland, you have Greenland, you have Canada, and then the U.S. And all of them are equal to one Russia here. So Russia really has the Arctic Ocean. Basically, they are the majority controller there. But right here, it says that according to Russian state-owned media, the Russian Foreign Ministry delivered a démarche to the United States and protested to the Council of International Seabed Authority, which is currently being hosted in Kingston, Jamaica, over the announcement of the extended continental shelf claim. This represents the first true legal battle of the Arctic demarcations after the United States and the Russian Federation launched their 21st century Arctic strategies. And so demarcations is right here. It is the action of fixing the boundary or limits of something. So yeah, so now we have the first true legal battle over the limits of, what's going on up there in the Arctic. The Arctic Ocean has been coming into play for a while now, and it's getting bigger in debate here. So the United States Department of State, in collaboration with the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, conducted a nearly 20-year analysis of the seabed under the United States Extended Continental Shelf Project. And they published their findings in December 2023, which recommended the designation of hundreds of thousands of square nautical miles of seabed as part of the U.S. Extended Continental Shelf. However, the findings on additional territory is most rife in the Arctic, where distance of 350 nautical miles and more than 680 nautical miles in the east from the territorial sea baseline of the United States has been extended. While the Russian Foreign Ministry didn't reject the entire proposal, it is almost certainly the Arctic territory which drew the most concern from Moscow. Well, of course. So this is part of what the U.S. wants to have as its extended continental shelf. And it says currently under the current UN adoption, United Nations adopted Convention on Law of the Sea, which the United States is not a party to, every coastal nation has 3 to 12 nautical mile territory waters and 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone designation. However, the language in the charter established the possibility for nations to appeal for an extended continental shelf depending on the bathymetry and geological data. An ESC extended continental shelf gives the claimant exclusive access to the natural resources contained on the ocean floor, not the waters above it. And ECS is defined as the sedimentary deposits of bedrock that exist near the continental shelf in the coastal regions before large drop-offs, which usually define deep areas of international water. So this is the territorial out to 12 nautical miles, the coast, and then the economic zone out to 24, out to 200 nautical miles, and then you have the high sea. And so now they're debating area past the 200 nautical miles, the extended continental shelf. But the United States Department of State expressed interest in the Arctic region due to its immense natural resources such as crab and natural gas. However, it is important to note that the United States has not ratified the UNCLOS, which is the United Nations Adopted Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. Okay, and they haven't ratified it due to sovereignty concerns. And but the State Department hopes that submitting the ECS case will act as an incentive to convince Congress to ratify the UNCLOS to increase the legitimacy of the U.S. claims. However, the State Department does not view its status in the UNCLOS as a roadblock to submitting an ECS case because the U.S. accepts the treaty as customary international law and has made a concerted effort to enforce the provisions of international boundaries outlined above. Okay. And then the Alaskan Beacon, they say that Senator Lisa Murkowski, she says that Russian objection to the U.S. territorial claim off of Alaska complicates the maritime relationship. And in this article here, Coast Guard Lieutenant Commander Jed Rasky, he said that cross-border cooperation between the U.S. Coast Guard and its Russian counterpart has deteriorated but not ended entirely. He said that the communication between us and the Russia border guard are relatively low right now, and that's because of the strained relationship between the two nations. And he's based in Juneau. We still have very good contact and we maintain good communications just to make sure that if something that becomes an issue with either safety, life at sea, or pollution, we would obviously be able to contact them proactively for that. But, yeah. He says that, he says, I think, the answer will be we see what happens over the next few months and we're standing by. And this is an April 8th, 2024 article. So this is today when I'm making this video. And right here it says the Russian government is challenging the U.S. claim made in December to sovereignty over 520 400 square kilometers of extended outer continental shelf in the Arctic Ocean, an area bigger than California, and another 176, 330 square kilometers in the Bering Sea. Russia says the U.S. does not have the right to make such claims because it is not party to the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, that CONLS thing before. So that's what Russia's delegation argued at a meeting in Jamaica last month, which is where the International Seabed Commission is operating from right now. The way other places worded, it makes it sound like that the Seabed Commission moves around. But they say we categorically reject the selective approach of the United States of America to the use of international law with an emphasis on its rights and a completely disregard for its obligations. And Murkowski said the Russian objection is puzzling because the claims made in December by the U.S. did not overlap any territory claimed by Russia. Well, maybe it's not so puzzling because maybe so far Russia hasn't claimed any of that territory. But, once somebody else does, then all of a sudden they're like, well, maybe there's something valuable there. It says, whatever grounds Russia might cite, its objection is an example of how the U.S. is at a disadvantage because it has not ratified the Law of the Sea Treaty, under which such claims are adjudicated. And she says here that the U.S. is still allowed to submit the claim without ratifying the treaty. However, we're not basically at the table to defend it. She said that it's kind of like going to court and just hoping that the pleading you filed is going to be so rock solid and all of your sites are going to be very conclusive, but you don't have the ability to argue your case as the attorney that drafted that. And she worked as a lawyer before being a public servant. So this is the other over here in the Bering Sea, in the Arctic, the two claims that the United States is making right now, that Russia, who has how much? I think it's in this article. How much of the Arctic does Russia have? Yeah, half of it. But they don't want the United States to have these. So right now this is being adjudicated, and we'll see what the outcome of this is. But land, minerals, everything that's out there is to be fought over. Nobody ever wants to give up land, and as if relationships aren't complicated enough between Russia and the United States right now, they're also in international court. I'm not sure if that's before the Council of the International Seabed Authority. So they're in international governance, I guess, and they're arguing about these patches of land here deep underneath the seabed and 200 miles off of the coast. There's something that's of value out there, so stay tuned, people.